Tonight, chaotic verging on reckless. The Integrity Commissioner blasts the office of Ontario's housing minister.
We need to call it what it is: corruption.
A new report finds the housing minister broke the Integrity Act and needs a reprimand as the Ford government officially backpedals, reclassifying 2 Ajax properties as protected Greenbelt land.
I decided help. I got my bee suit always in my truck.
Plus, beekeeper backup. The sweet strangers who jumped in to help after millions of bees were unleashed near Burlington. Why nightfall is expected to help.
Just seeing the world that exists past Earth is amazing.
And feeling a little blue? A rare celestial wonder in the sky may cheer you up. We'll explain all the fuss about the blue supermoon. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. The condemnation intensified today against the Ford government over its decision to swap some lands in the Greenbelt to try to build more housing. Tonight, Ontario's housing minister stands accused of breaking the Integrity Act, and calls for his resignation are growing even more fierce. As if that news wasn't intense enough, late today, the Ford government backtracked. It started returning 2 of the 15 properties involved in the swap back to the environmentally protected status. The 2 farmland properties in Ajax were recently listed for sale, and some of the land was listed as a business park rather than housing at all. Tonight, the Ford government is blasting the landowner for failing to disclose their intention to sell, warning other developers involved in the land swap that any moves other than immediate housing development will not be tolerated. The landowner insists they were looking for a business partner and not an outright sale. Still, the dramatic reversal comes as the Integrity Commissioner found the housing minister allowed his office to descend into chaos and that he should be reprimanded for it. Lorenda Redekop shows us why any discipline against Minister Clark at this point is unlikely to happen.
This latest report into Housing Minister Steve Clark is long, at 166 pages. It finds the minister broke 2 sections of the Members' Integrity Act. He found Clark misinterpreted the Premier's mandate letter for timing on Greenbelt removals, then withdrew from supervising his staff, leaving it to his recently appointed chief of staff, who had never served in that capacity before and who was drinking from a fire hose trying to grasp all of his new responsibilities. This report comes exactly 3 weeks after the Auditor General's investigation. It found the minister's then chief of staff, Ryan Amato, was in direct contact with developers who stand to benefit from their land allowing housing, with values set to rise by $8.3 billion. The Integrity Commissioner says he found a process marked by misinterpretation, unnecessary hastiness, and deception. It shows that Mr. Amato advised Minister Clark to leave it with me as he embarked on a chaotic and almost reckless process, leading to the private interests of some developers being furthered improperly.
We need to call it what it is: corruption. It's been clear to us that Mr. Clark needs to resign.
The NDP leader is the one who complained to the Integrity Commissioner. Her message to the Premier:
take some responsibility. Finally, demand his minister's resignation, kick him out of cabinet.
That's clearly not going to happen right now. The Premier released a statement saying, "We've acknowledged areas where we need to improve." The Integrity Commissioner reiterated that today and will continue to work to strengthen the process moving forward. And says Minister Clark will continue to work towards delivering on our promise to build at least 1.5 million homes. Clark then released a statement saying, "As minister, the buck stops with me, and I accept the Integrity Commissioner's findings. There were clear flaws in the process that led to today's report." For environmentalists, it adds strength to their argument that the land needs to be returned to the Greenbelt.
We now have 2 officers of the legislature that have made it clear indefensible processes were followed.
As for that recommended reprimand, that's the decision for the legislature. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
To developing news tonight near Caledon, 2 people are dead after a 2-vehicle crash. It happened on Airport Road near Charleston Side Road. The OPP says both drivers were killed. There were no other passengers in either car. Airport Road was closed from Charleston Side Road to Highway 9 for the investigation, and no further details were provided about the victims or the cause of the crash. Now to a story from Burlington that has garnered international headlines today. Roughly 5 million bees swarmed Guelph Line near Dundas Street this morning after several bee crates came loose from a truck. Ali Chiasson takes us through the cleanup effort as she found out how to deal with what's known as a cloud of bees.
That's the sound of a sticky situation. Millions of bees spilled from their hives after the truck they were being transported on took a hard turn.
We're moving them down to our farm in Grimsby, and I got a call from a bystander that I had beehives all over the road, and I just stepped on the gas even harder and got to my boys, right?
5 million of his bees swarmed the entire block. And so did local beekeepers trying to help.
I saw it on CH News, so I decided help. I got my bee suit always in my truck and tools, whatever I need. So I stopped in and give a hand.
As soon as I got the message, I jumped up, got my suit, and drove over here. It was like walking through a war zone. I noticed a lot of dead bees on the road.
As for the rest?
The bees were quite agitated. We got stung like 60 times each, so yeah.
The police warned people in the area to keep their windows closed as they called for beekeeper backup.
Yeah, so it was a cloud of bees and a bunch of beekeepers, basically.
So apparently a cloud of bees is a real thing. That's why I need to put one of these on. Let's do this. So the beekeeper's strategy is to keep the hives here on this truck. And the idea is these worker bees will return to their hives or their homes at night. So apparently the ones that are still outside of the hives are the angry bees. So, love that for me.
The bees live inside the colonies and they have the equipment that they live on, so it's kind of, since they are a superorganism, they require that equipment that we provide. So we are using that equipment to kind of scoop them up. And yeah, sometimes by hand.
The person driving the truck has been charged with towing an insecure load. After nightfall, when the remaining bees return, the bee's owner will help his colonies rebuild.
See if we need to make our splits, see if we need to requeen, but hopefully these hives will make a strong recovery and queen themselves. As a beekeeper myself, it's really heartwarming to see the local industry come out and show up like this.
Support that may have taken the sting out of his ordeal. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Burlington.
Bees aren't the only thing we're watching in the sky tonight. Stargazers around the world are getting to witness a rare celestial event called a blue supermoon. Anam Khan is live tonight tracking how excited people are getting about it. And Anam, the cloud cover that we had earlier this evening has now cleared, making way for a great opportunity to see this rare spectacle.
Yes, you can definitely see it, Chris. It's so bright. It's like a light bulb in the sky. So if you're stepping out, there's no way you're going to miss this. And I spoke to astronomy students and a professor today, and they were super excited about this event because the next one won't happen for nearly 15 years. New students at York University were welcomed with a unique treat today to use its observatory's 1-meter-long telescope. York says it's the largest of its kind at a Canadian university. All the better to see tonight's peak of the blue supermoon.
It's like fiction in real life.
For many students, events like this remind them why they got into astronomy.
Just seeing the world that exists past Earth is amazing, and being able to see where we fit into that is fantastic.
York astronomy professor Elena Hyde has been encouraging students all day to witness tonight's rare phenomenon.
We can connect to the telescope from here and then pick a target and have a look at it anywhere in the sky.
The blue moon title is given to the second full moon in a single month. The last one was on August 1st. According to NASA, only 3% of moons are blue moons. A supermoon is when the moon's orbit is closest to Earth, but the chance of both occurring simultaneously is rare. And it adds to the exciting celestial events this year.
We've had amazing Mars missions, we had lunar eclipses, but when you look through a telescope, you really get that kind of explorer Galileo moment where you have that connection to our nearest neighbor.
And some are looking for that connection without the telescope. For some, a blue supermoon has a spiritual significance.
People often say that on full moons they feel more emotional, they feel more raw. It is true, because just like the full moon energy pulls up the ocean tides and makes it more intense, on full moons that energy again also pulls within each person their emotional stuff more to the surface.
Some Torontonians brave tonight's chilly weather to meditate and take advantage of the rare event. They say they're hoping to release bad energy from their lives.
So if you missed it tonight, no big deal. The blue supermoon will still be visible tomorrow. And if you look closely, you'll see a bright light beside the moon, and that's Saturn. So there's a lot of really exciting things to look up in the sky.
Exciting stuff. Annam Khan reporting live for us tonight. Thanks, Annam. And as you just heard in Annam's report, the blue supermoon also creates even higher tides, and that made Hurricane Idalia even more dangerous as it slammed into Florida today. It hit land as a fierce Category 3 storm, but has since been downgraded to a tropical storm as it moved across land to South Carolina. Idalia hit Florida's Big Bend area with 200-kilometer-an-hour winds. Storm surges of nearly 5 meters caused severe flooding in several areas. Hundreds of thousands of people have been left without power, and so much more damage is still being discovered. This is the strongest storm to hit the region in more than 125 years. As our climate continues to warm, as more greenhouse gases are released, the ocean waters are warming to unprecedented levels, and scientists say that's what's fueled the hurricane and its extraordinary strength. Our resident scientist, Colette, is tracking the storm for us. And Colette, the rare blue supermoon potentially enhancing this rare hurricane as well.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I mean, the timing's so crucial. Here we are with a full moon, the moon in perigee. So we know that the sun and the moon are responsible for the Earth's gravitational pulls that affect our ocean tides. And so a king tide, like a very high tide coinciding with a storm like Idalia coming inland. So it's just been incredible here. We know there's a lot of coastal erosion too along not only this west coast of Florida here, but portions of the Carolinas where Idalia is now moving, and eventually as it pushes through the Carolinas, it does head back out, but keeping that strength as a tropical storm. So with that erosion, and now we're still looking at all the things, the strong winds and the tornadic activity, but we're also talking about flooding, coastal flooding, flash flooding, river flooding, and urban flooding, all watching that so carefully. All right, showing you what's happening with temperatures, because I'm sure you noticed cooler today, right? That cooler air in place. The heat isn't far. It's west, but it's also up into the prairies, and that's what's coming our way. We're behind that cold front. We're drying out, clearing out, nice conditions for tonight to be viewing the moon, and even tomorrow night if you don't catch it tonight, but it will be cooler, 10 degrees, and tomorrow 22, warmer than today, more sunshine and less of those winds. But the real warm up is coming. Chris, I'll have that coming up.
All right, sounds good. Welcome back. Metro grocery store workers who have been striking for more than a month may soon be back to work. The major grocer and the union returned to the bargaining table yesterday and today announced a tentative deal had been reached. Greg Ross has that story.
Picket lines at some Toronto area Metro stores were sparse today, with many employees staying home in light of the news that a new tentative deal between the union and the grocery chain has been reached.
I'm hopeful something positive come out. I'm very hopeful because we have to get back to work.
Employees at 27 GTA Metro stores walked off the job on July 29th, demanding higher wages and better working conditions. The month-long strike has taken a toll on many who are struggling to stay afloat.
I'm hopeful that I can get back to work because my bills are adding up. My bills have been adding up for about a month. I haven't paid anything, right? And I feel that I'm going to lose my apartment because the money that they give us is not enough.
Staff at the Liberty Village Metro tell us that they won't get to see the terms of the new deal until tomorrow. A statement from the company said the agreement, which is fair and equitable for our employees and customers, is unanimously recommended by the union's bargaining committee and will put an end to the labor dispute if ratified.
If it's a very good deal, I hope everybody that's on strike will sign it. If it's not a bad deal, we're not going to sign.
In a statement from Unifor, a representative said that the tentative agreement acknowledges the economic struggles that many of its members face. They say a vote to ratify the deal will happen in the coming days and that details of the agreement won't be released until after the vote. That can't come soon enough for some customers near this metro who want their grocery store back.
I don't want the door open. So please, Metro, do the right thing.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to safety changes coming to some Ontario universities. Course locations and other information that may make classrooms vulnerable have been removed from school websites. The move comes 2 months after a stabbing incident in a gender studies class at the University of Waterloo. Police say the attack was targeted and hate-motivated. Dale Manukduk reports.
On June 28th, Giovanni Villalba Ailman, a 24-year-old recent graduate of the University of Waterloo, allegedly stabbed 2 students and an instructor. He's facing 11 charges, including attempted murder. Police say it was a hate-motivated incident related to gender expression and gender identity.
Faculty members for many years now have been telling us it's not safe in courses in relation to gender studies, in relation to Black studies, Indigenous studies, as well as other equity and marginal studies programs like disability studies, where they are facing a disproportionate number of extremist and online hate.
Following the incident, U of W says it was removing course locations and other identifying information from public websites as a safety precaution. Other institutions like Toronto Metropolitan, U of T, and York have followed suit by either removing or limiting publicly accessible information. However, a quick online search finds that information regarding several Waterloo courses that could be seen as vulnerable are still up, including non-binary digital storytelling and feminist disability studies.
This doesn't speak well to the university's ability to respond quickly to problems and threats.
That's the voice of a transgendered faculty member at U of W. CBC has agreed to keep their name and face confidential over fears they might be targeted.
Like, I want to be able to be comfortable being open, being comfortable being a role model, and right now it's kind of hard to do that, which is unfortunate.
The university says that all course information will be behind a login by the end of September. Meanwhile, staff at other institutions have expressed some concern about drawing further unwanted attention to the problem. In a statement to CBC Toronto, the National Association for Women's and Gender Studies writes in part, "We are encouraged by university administrators who recognize the importance of this work and call on them as a collective to invite others to join them and share best practices and be transparent in their efforts." But ultimately, the choice to limit access to course location and other information is just one layer of protection.
It's a sad reality that that decision makers have made the decision that these types of things have to be done in order to keep students and faculty safe.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to sports and another major off-ice move by the Leafs. The team has locked up coach Sheldon Keefe for the next couple of years.
Having watched it from the outside, then having spent a lot of time with Sheldon over the summer here, is that I think Sheldon's the top coach. I think he's a really, really good coach. I think he's dug in with this group.
The 2-year contract extension means Keefe stays behind the bench until at least 2025. The 42-year-old was named Leafs head coach back in 2019. This past season, the Leafs advanced past the first round of the playoffs for the first time since 2004. Welcome back. You're looking live at the city skyline, and it's a chilly 14 degrees out there, heading down to a low of 8 tonight. Colette is back with the long-range forecast, and Colette, those clear skies mean it is a great opportunity to see the rare blue supermoon out there.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. So glad that we get, the clearer skies now after some of the cloudiness from earlier, that we could see our blue supermoon. And even if you catch it tonight. You have a couple of nights because really till Friday it's going to be visible. And just to recap there in terms of why it is a supermoon, when the moon is in perigee, it's closer to the Earth, so around 363,000 kilometers away, as opposed to when it's in apogee. So we're not in apogee, we're in perigee, and we get it seeming brighter in the sky, 30% more than normal, 10 to 15% larger in terms of how it appears. And it's also a blue moon, of course, because it is the second full moon within 1 month. Those are always, we call those blue moons. All right, that forecast looks so much better, doesn't it? Of course, the rain showers from much earlier and last night gone, clearing skies. And now we're going into a pattern where we are going to see several days of sunshine. Now, you probably noticed the temperature's a bit cool today, and the breeze a bit on the brisk side as well, with those winds out of the north to northwest. Tomorrow morning, still a bit of a breeze, but it really backs off and kind of shifts more towards the east as we go into the afternoon hours. So really becomes pleasant, and the temperature a little bit warmer than today, not quite back to seasonal. We'll get there, though, by Friday. And then it really builds from there. Overnight tonight, though, some very cool numbers. North Toronto, 9 degrees. I've got us at Pearson to 10, Oshawa 11, but 8 for Barrie, 7 for Kitchener, 8 for London. So some single digits beginning to show up. And not only that, I didn't put it in because it's well north of the GTA, but some frost advisories have been coming out as well. All right, looking ahead tomorrow with that 22 degrees, there's 25 on Friday. Not only do the temperatures build into the Labor Day weekend, keep in mind the humidity will be going up as well. Likely we'll get into a heat warning being issued by Environment Canada. There's a look at the temperatures, but it's going to feel at times by Monday, Tuesday, probably closer to those upper 30s or near 40 for a humidex.
Yikes, that is a hot weekend. All right, thanks, Colette. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. And of course, it's not just us here. People all over the world are getting treated to the blue supermoon. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.